Today on Rappler. A court in San Juan City denies Senator Jinggoy Estrada's request for a temporary restraining order against Brice Hernandez. Defense Secretary Teodoro says he is willing to talk to China if it shows sincerity. The Philippines and Canada sign a Status of Visiting Forces Agreement or SOVFA. NASA debunks claims that the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing was fake after Kim Kardashian said she believes the conspiracy. And a new career high for Alexa Eala as she climbs to world number 50. A court in San Juan City denies Senator Jinggoy Estrada's request for a temporary restraining order against Brice Hernandez, the former Bulacan Public Works official who admitted to corruption. Hernandez's lawyer Ernest Levanza says Estrada sought a TRO to prevent Hernandez from further implicating the senator in flood control corruption. Hernandez earlier told a Senate panel Estrada channeled 355 million pesos into projects in exchange for a 30% kickback. Estrada has denied the accusations and has since filed a perjury complaint against Hernandez. In a 7-page ruling dated October 30, the San Juan court says Hernandez's supposedly defamatory remarks have already been publicized by various media outlets. Because of this, the court believes that issuing a TRO at this point would no longer serve its purpose. In a statement, Estrada's office says the senator fully respects and will abide by the court's decision. Estrada's request for a writ of preliminary injunction remains pending and will be heard on Wednesday, November 12. Here, the court will consider both Estrada's and Hernandez's arguments and evidence. A TRO would have had an immediate effect prior to a hearing. No efforts were made, especially from the Philippine side, to arrange a bilateral meeting between Philippine and Chinese defense ministers. This on the sidelines of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Defense Ministers Meeting Plus in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. When asked why not, Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. says it is hard to talk to someone who is insincere.
I would be willing to talk if there was a semblance of good faith. Kung nagpakita ng sinseridad, kakausapin ko bakit hindi. Pero kakausapin mo na the day before sinabi binablockmail natin ng China, pagkatapos magbago daw tayo ng mend your ways. Sampal sa mukha yun. Kaya hindi ko tatanggapin.
Teodoro was also asked if he had met with his Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun, to which he answered, why would he? He adds, it remains important for defense ministers to maintain dialogue despite tensions between China and the Philippines in the West Philippine Sea. Canada becomes the latest country to sign a visiting forces agreement with the Philippines. Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. and Canadian Defense Minister David McGuinty signed the Status of the Visiting Forces Agreement or SOVFA, nearly 8 months after negotiations for the deal concluded. Canada becomes the 5th country to sign a Visiting Forces Agreement with the Philippines, marking its first in the Indo-Pacific region. The Philippines Defense Department says the deal, quote, underscores the Philippines' commitment to expand the country's security partnerships to promote regional peace and stability. Manila's expansion of defense ties comes as grows more assertive in defending both its rights and claims in the South China Sea, particularly in the area it calls the West Philippine Sea. The U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, debunks a conspiracy theory that the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing was fake. This after Kim Kardashian said in a new episode of Hulu's long-running family saga The Kardashians, she believes the theory and thought the lunar landing by astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin was fiction. Kardashian said a video interview with Aldrin led her to believe the moon landing never occurred. However, U.S. Transportation Secretary and NASA's acting administrator Sean Duffy quickly dismissed this. Duffy says in a post, quote, yes, Kim Kardashian, we've been to the moon before, 6 times. Kardashian was referring to a video in which Aldrin was asked about the scariest moment of the Apollo mission. The video showed him saying, there was no scary moment because it didn't happen. She then concluded the moon landing itself didn't happen. However, Aldrin's remarks appear to have been taken out of context from a 2015 on-stage appearance at Britain's Oxford Union Debating Society. Alexa Eala finally cracks the world top 50 in the latest WTA rankings. The Filipina tennis ace climbed one spot from number 51 last week for a new career high ranking. This following her run in the Hong Kong Open, where Eala lost to eventual champion Victoria Mboko of Canada in the round of 16. The top 50 ranking sums up a stellar year for Eala, who picked up momentum starting with her magical run in the Miami Open back in March. Eala became the first Filipino to reach the semifinals of a WTA 1000 event as she stunned Grand Slam champions Iga Swiatek, Madison Keys, and Jelena Ostapenko. Other highlights include her first WTA final in the Eastbourne Open in June and her first ever WTA Challenger title in the Guadalajara Open in September. She might see action again at the end of the year at the Southeast Asian Games, which she says is in her plans. And that's today's wrap. I'm Juna Reyes. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. For more updates, download the Rappler app.